600 ringgit a month. That's what one man's entire life in another country is worth on paper. Right now, while you're watching this, over 2 million people are waking up in tin-roofed dormitories across Malaysia, owing money they haven't even earned yet. They build the towers they'll never afford to enter. They harvest the fruit that fills your pantry. They sew, weld, and wire the products sitting in your living room right now. But here's the part nobody tells you. Many of them paid for the privilege of being exploited before they ever set foot in the country. So, who really keeps Malaysia's economy running from the ground up? And why does a nation that promotes itself as compassionate, dignified, and progressive still rely on a labor system that human rights investigators have compared to modern debt bondage? Stay with me, because by the end of this documentary, you'll never look at a Made in Malaysia label the same way again. Malaysia is one of Southeast Asia's fastest-growing economies. Home to world-class manufacturers, towering skyscrapers, and globally recognized companies, it exports everything from semiconductors and electronics to palm oil and medical gloves. But behind that economic success lies a workforce most people never see. Depending on the source, somewhere between 1.8 and 5.5 million migrant workers are living and working across Malaysia today. Even the exact number remains uncertain, revealing just how difficult this workforce is to track. These workers come from Bangladesh, Nepal, Indonesia, Myanmar, India, and many other countries. For decades, they have quietly taken on the hardest, dirtiest, and most dangerous jobs that keep entire industries alive. Imagine Malaysia's economy as a skyscraper. The luxury apartments, modern offices, and glittering skyline are the top floors everyone admires. But hidden beneath them is a foundation built by millions of foreign workers whose names rarely appear in headlines. Today, that foundation is under pressure. New immigration policies, growing international scrutiny, labor shortages, and human rights investigations are forcing Malaysia to confront questions it has postponed for decades. Our story begins long before sunrise. While most of the city is still asleep, workers across Selangor, Johor, and Penang are already awake. Inside many employer-provided dormitories, rows of bunk beds fill overcrowded rooms. Ceiling fans struggle against the heat while dozens of workers prepare for another long day. Investigations have uncovered hostels housing far more people than they were designed to accommodate. In one documented case, a facility built for around 1,800 workers was found housing nearly 3,000. Researchers estimate that the overwhelming majority of migrant workers from Bangladesh, Nepal, Myanmar, Indonesia, and India live in overcrowded or poorly maintained accommodation. The housing is not simply a consequence of poverty. It is built into the system. Under Malaysian law, many employers are responsible for providing accommodation for their foreign workers. While intended as a form of protection, the arrangement often gives employers enormous control over nearly every aspect of a worker's daily life, from where they sleep to how they live outside working hours. For many, the dormitory becomes more than just a place to rest. It becomes another reminder of how little control they truly have. But the day hasn't even started, and many workers are already carrying something far heavier than exhaustion: debt. Long before they arrive in Malaysia, thousands borrow money simply to secure the opportunity to work. Over the past decade, hundreds of thousands of Bangladeshi workers have traveled to Malaysia after paying recruitment fees that, in many documented cases, greatly exceeded legal limits. For someone earning Malaysia's minimum wage, repaying those fees can consume close to 10 months of income. Think about that for a moment. Nearly an entire year of work disappears before a single ringgit reaches the family waiting back home. Research in Malaysia's palm oil industry found that a significant share of workers had to borrow money just to cover recruitment costs. Once they finally arrive, many discover that changing employers is extremely difficult under the existing system. If the job turns abusive, leaving may mean losing legal status, risking detention, or facing deportation while still carrying unpaid debt. For many workers, walking away simply isn't an option. The debt follows them into every shift, and that debt shapes every decision they make. By the time the sun rises over Malaysia's factories and plantations, millions of migrant workers are already on the job, working not just for today's wages, but to repay yesterday's promises. By 7 o'clock in the morning, the workday is fully underway. For many migrant workers, an 8-hour shift exists only on paper. In reality, 12-hour days, 6-day work weeks, and mandatory overtime have become a familiar part of life across construction sites, manufacturing plants, and palm oil plantations. These workers build apartment towers that reshape city skylines. They harvest the palm oil found in thousands of everyday products. They assemble electronics, manufacture medical gloves, and produce goods that are shipped to homes, hospitals, and businesses around the world. They are not a small part of the global supply chain. They are the supply chain. Yet most consumers never stop to ask who made the products they rely on every day. Since 2019, the United States has imposed import restrictions on several Malaysian companies over allegations linked to forced labor, including debt bondage, intimidation, withheld documents, and exploitative working conditions. Those actions sent a clear message. The issue is no longer hidden inside factory walls. It has become an international concern. But perhaps the biggest contradiction lies within Malaysia's own policies. In 2025, the government announced plans that would allow migrant workers greater freedom to change employers, an important reform that many labor rights groups welcomed. If implemented effectively, it could reduce workers' dependence on a single employer and weaken one of the biggest drivers of exploitation. Yet, only months later, the country's 13th Malaysia Plan introduced proposals pointing in a different direction. The plan emphasized tighter permit conditions, stricter controls on job transfers, and shorter employment periods for many foreign workers. One policy appeared to open the door. Another seemed to close it. The contradiction extends beyond low-wage labor. Malaysia is also competing to attract engineers, technology specialists, financial professionals, and other highly skilled expatriates. At the same time, newer immigration policies are making it more difficult for some foreign professionals to qualify for long-term employment, with higher salary requirements and greater expectations for companies to eventually replace expatriates with local talent. Different groups, different objectives, but driven by the same national concern. How can Malaysia reduce its dependence on foreign workers without slowing the industries that depend on them? That question has no simple answer. The human cost, however, is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. According to the Global Slavery Index, thousands of people in Malaysia continue to experience conditions associated with modern slavery, including forced labor, debt bondage, restricted movement, and coercive employment practices. Worldwide, forced labor generates an estimated hundreds of billions of dollars in illegal profits every year. Behind those profits are ordinary people who traveled abroad hoping for opportunity, only to find themselves trapped by debt, restrictive employment systems, and limited choices. Every unpaid wage, every inflated recruitment fee, every passport withheld becomes part of an economic system that stretches far beyond Malaysia's borders. The statistics are staggering. But behind every number is a person who left home believing they were building a better future for the family they left behind. For many, that dream comes at a cost far greater than they ever imagined. What happens inside Malaysia's factories and plantations is no longer just Malaysia's concern. The products made by migrant workers don't stay within the country's borders. They are shipped to hospitals, supermarkets, electronic stores, and homes across Europe, North America, the Middle East, Africa, and the rest of Asia. That means the conditions under which these products are made have become a global issue. The United States has already imposed import restrictions on several Malaysian companies over allegations of forced labor. The European Union is also moving towards stricter enforcement against goods linked to forced labor, raising the stakes for manufacturers that fail to clean up their supply chains. In simple terms, exploitation is no longer just a human rights issue. It is becoming an economic risk. A worker being underpaid in Johor can eventually affect trade negotiations in Brussels or supply chains in Washington. That's how interconnected today's global economy has become. But this is where the conversation becomes more complicated. The Malaysian government argues that many of its immigration and labor policies are designed to protect local jobs, encourage companies to invest in Malaysian workers, and reduce long-term dependence on foreign labor. On paper, those goals make sense. Every country wants to create opportunities for its own citizens. The challenge lies in how those goals are achieved. if recruitment fees remain excessive, if workers continue to struggle to change employers, if reporting abuse still places someone's legal status at risk, then tightening immigration rules alone does not solve exploitation. It may simply leave vulnerable workers with even fewer options. Malaysia now finds itself balancing two competing realities. On one side is the political pressure to prioritize local employment and reduce reliance on migrant labor. On the other is the economic reality that industries such as construction, manufacturing, agriculture, and palm oil continue to depend heavily on foreign workers. Finding the balance between those two realities will shape Malaysia's future for years to come. Other countries offer useful comparisons. Several Gulf nations have faced similar criticism over employer-controlled labor systems and have introduced reforms aimed at giving workers greater freedom to change jobs. Singapore continues to rely on migrant labor as well, but operates under a more structured regulatory system with clearer oversight and enforcement. South Korea's employment permit system allows migrant workers to report workplace abuse without automatically losing their legal status, creating an important layer of protection that labor advocates often point to as a model. No country has completely eliminated labor exploitation, but one lesson continues to emerge. When a worker's legal status depends entirely on a single employer, the risk of abuse increases dramatically. When workers have realistic pathways to report abuse or change employers, those risks become far easier to reduce. For multinational companies deciding where to invest, these differences matter. Labor standards are no longer just a moral issue. They are becoming a competitive advantage. Now think about your own life. The smartphone in your pocket, the medical gloves used during a hospital visit, the furniture in your home, the snack food in your kitchen. There is a real possibility that part of their journey passed through a Malaysian factory or plantation powered by migrant workers. For viewers considering moving to Malaysia for work, whether from Africa, South Asia, or anywhere else, understanding the system is essential. Malaysia continues to offer genuine opportunities, especially for skilled professionals and students. But opportunity should never replace preparation. Know your rights. Read every contract carefully. Understand the recruitment process. And never pay illegal recruitment fees without verifying the agency involved. The better informed you are before you leave home, the safer your journey is likely to be. Malaysia now stands at a crossroads. One future leads toward greater transparency, fair recruitment, stronger labor protections, and a system where workers can earn a living without sacrificing their freedom. That future could strengthen investor confidence, improve Malaysia's international reputation, and create a more sustainable economy for everyone. The other path is far less certain. If recruitment abuses continue, if reforms remain inconsistent, if international sanctions increase, Malaysia risks damaging not only its reputation but also the industries that have powered its economic success for decades. The choices being made today will shape the country's future for years to come. And somewhere tonight, long after the lights of Kuala Lumpur have faded into the distance, another alarm will ring before dawn. Another worker will wake up. Another 12-hour shift will begin. Another family will wait for money to arrive from hundreds or even thousands of kilometers away. For millions of migrant workers, tomorrow will look almost exactly like today. The question is whether the system around them will finally begin to change. Because behind every product stamped made in Malaysia is more than a factory. There is a human story. And whether that story is one of opportunity or exploitation depends on the decisions being made right now. If this documentary gave you a new perspective, let us know what you think in the comments. If you're living or working in Malaysia, or have experienced the migrant worker system yourself, we'd love to hear your story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications as we continue uncovering the untold stories shaping Southeast Asia and the global economy. This is Big Chumba Productions, and we'll see you in the next documentary.